Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. I can't for some reason summon the energy for my usual greeting, but it is Wednesday. It is Jump Around, our weekly cardio class, and it is apparently on Wednesdays we do a coup. Great, just fucking great. Yeah, hi everyone. Have you, like me, spent most of the day watching a bunch of white dudes have a fucking temper tantrum in the middle of the Capitol? And I say that not to minimize what's going on, because it's fucking terrifying. But these people clearly don't have a plan. They clearly don't have, like, they have a nebulous goal, but they don't have a, like, actual goal. They're just legitimately having a temper tantrum and being aided and abetted by the goddamn police. And yeah, we are lucky that they don't have a plan, because the aforementioned being aided and abetted by the goddamn police would have made that real fucking scary, even scarier than this already is. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already heard me yell about this, which is basically what I've spent most of the afternoon doing. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm, the reference that comes to mind from a movie I've never even seen is that I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Yeah, I've obviously never been particularly shy on this channel about supporting the dismantling of white supremacy and supporting Black Lives Matter and indigenous rights and everything that we can do to break down the fucking horrifying stranglehold that white supremacy has had on America for its entire history. Going forward, I'm going to be more vocal about that, because it's the best thing that I can do as a person on the internet, as a white person on the internet. So we're gonna be raising money for good organizations. We're gonna be amplifying Patreons and coffee accounts for Black creators and indigenous creators and LGBTQIA plus creators. We are going to be taking definitive actions here on Blanche Case Fitness to support our marginalized communities. And that takes a lot of different forms. For some people, protesting is the best way that they can participate. For some people, donating money to really on the ground organizations, not just throwing money at, like, the Red Cross or something like that, but looking for, okay, what are the voting rights organizations out there that I can support? What are the bail funds that I can support? What are, the organizations like NARF, and, other groups that are working to support the rights of Native Americans and other indigenous groups. For some of us, what we can do is amplify. For some of us, what we can do is educate other white people and do our best to, to educate, which is a burden that should never be put on the marginalized communities that are impacted by white supremacy every single fucking day. So 2021 is going to be the year when we really figure out specific steps that we are going to take. And sometimes that's going to take us out of our comfort zone, my friends. Sometimes we are going to have to do things that we do not usually feel comfortable doing. Okay? Sometimes we're going to have to phone bank. Sometimes we're going to have to hit the streets and protest. And you know what? I absolutely understand that for many people, activities like that can be really freaking stressful, if not incredibly difficult to achieve from a mental health perspective. But we have to work on keeping ourselves healthy and we have to work on not letting ourselves use factors like that as an excuse to not do the work, okay? There is so much that needs to be done, and, it's good to find the things that we excel at in the ways that we can be most effective. That's absolutely good, but we also do have to be willing on some occasions to step out of our comfort zone in order to take those stands. Okay? And I know how hard that can be. And one of the reasons that I'm here today, because this is a really weird day to be streaming. I feel kind of awkward being online right now, but we're gathering here for our health. We're gathering here as a community to be with one another, to hold each other up, to take care of our health so that we have the energy and the strength and the stamina and the power to get out there and do what we need to do. And, I thought about it and I was like, I still feel like that is an important thing for us to do. Okay? So, yeah, we're here. We're here today. It's a hell of a day because it started, for me anyway, incredibly optimistically, watching the election results in Georgia, and watching the verifiable impacts of organizing and grassroots activism. Look at the state of Georgia. It is incredible. I remember back in November when it became clear that there was going to be runoff for these 2 Senate seats. And I had so many friends being like, it's not even worth thinking about. It's never going to happen. And it happened. Okay? That is a huge achievement. And even though it's happening on the same day as this other bullshit, I don't want to minimize that because that is an incredible thing to see. It's not the end of the fight. It's not the end of the road. I have a lot of issues with the Democratic Party, and I think, spending the next 2 years with them controlling House, Senate, and executive branch is going to be very illuminating for people who, I hate to say it, probably haven't been paying that much attention, yeah, so we have to keep our eyes open, even when our people are in power, because that's not what it's about, okay? It's about breaking down inequality, and it is about ensuring justice for every single person in this country. And quite frankly, the Democrats don't have that much better of a track record than the Republicans. And we are going to see what they're made of over the next 2 years. We are going to see how true this, we can push them left rhetoric actually is. And we have to be ready and willing to push them just as hard as we would be pushing if Orange Menace had been reelected. I'm not even going to say his fucking name. Fuck that guy. So, yeah, Biden has absolutely no excuse now. So, he does not get to say, the other side's being obstructionist. And now we're going to see what the Democratic Party is made of and how much they actually believe all those campaign promises that they made. And we need to be ready to keep pushing and to keep fighting, okay? Our work is not in any way done. Not in any way done. All right, but our exercise is just beginning. So let's do our pre-class checklist. I definitely pumped up for class by just listening to Childish Gambino's "This Is America" on repeat because it felt very appropriate for today. All right, so we've got our water in whatever vessel we're using. Hydration, hydration, hydration. Super important, especially on a day when we are all probably a little bit stressed, okay? So you got your water, you got your comfy clothes, you got your mat or mat-sized space on the floor, and if you use a fitness wearable, you can turn it on now to high-intensity interval training. Alrighty? So, let's take a second before we even get started. I know we just turned on the fitness wearables, but whatever. They're fine. Let's take a second. Let's take a couple of deep breaths and just center ourselves. We're here, physically present, about to work out. So let's just take 2 deep breaths, okay? Here we go. All right. All right. Everybody ready? I'd say it's time to work out because we clearly need to make sure that we have the strength and stamina necessary to punch fascists since they're wandering around our nation's capital. Hooray! All right. Let's get started with our warm-up, my friends. So, everybody on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and we will begin as soon as you hear the horn with our hip rocks and bridges. So if you are new to class, this is the warm-up that we do before all of the classes. So it's a good thing to memorize as quickly as possible. There's going to be a breakdown video of it going up on the YouTube channel. Probably not until February, just because January is actually going to be a pretty busy month for me with the move and everything. So I think I will officially put on hold video production plans until I am set up in the new office, the new streaming office. But you know, I will call out all of the exercises as we go through, and you can always look up and follow along. All right, so we're switching feet, doing the exact same thing. So we're still doing hip rocks and bridges. So again, this is the warm-up. We are not here to be going for 100% energy output or 120% energy output. We are warming up. We are booting up systems, basically. So we're giving our brain an opportunity to go, oh, okay, looks like we may be exercising. I should start sending the appropriate signals down to the muscles. And we're giving our muscles the opportunity to go, oh, looks like we're exercising. I should turn on those energy production systems, start breaking down that ATP so that it is ready to be used as fuel for whatever we're doing. So we are not trying to push ourselves and go for the largest version of any of these exercises. We are just working our way through the sequence and getting ourselves ready for the rest of class, basically. All right, so we're now on one side, And we're doing our best Jane Fonda leg lift. There's going to be 2 other leg exercises on this side before we switch to the other side. So when the horn goes off, don't immediately go and start doing this on the other side. We've got 2 more things to do over here. All right, but right now we are in a nice straight line. If you're having trouble getting yourself set in that straight line, use a guide like the long edge of your mat. Set yourself up along it and start to get a sense of what it feels like to be in that straight line, and then learn how to recreate that without the assistance. All right, now we've got our front foot or our top foot flat on the floor in front of our bottom knee, and we are lifting that bottom leg now. And we are also trying to keep this knee in a nice safe position, so pulled back so that the knee's pointing up towards the ceiling, and if I was standing on this leg, the knee would be going straight over my feet, okay? This is going to be easier or harder depending on the flexibility of your hip, and it will likely be a different experience on one side than the other, okay? So take the time to get to know what your flexibility is like on one side versus the other. So for me, on this side, I can just sort of set my knee and forget it because I have the flexibility. On the other side, and I'll talk about it when we get there, I do have to do a little more muscle engagement. All right, now we've taken that top foot, put it on the floor behind the bottom knee, and we're still lifting that bottom leg. This is our beach pose, basically. It is the most relaxed pose that we do in this leg sequence. We're not really worried about balance because this is just chilling back here, and we're not having to pull the knee to keep this position. We're not worried about the hips rolling anywhere because this foot is here to stop them. So we're able to really just concentrate on that leg lift, okay? And this is going to be the last leg exercise on this side. So when the horn goes off, we will switch to the other side and we will do the whole sequence again. So we will start back up with that Jane Fonda leg lift, and if you experience fatigue on this second side and you're like, I wonder why it feels so much harder on this side than it did on the first side, consider that this is the 3rd interval in a row where this has been your working leg, okay? Because it was the bottom leg on our first side and we had 2 sets in a row using it, and now it's become the top leg. So if you're feeling extra fatigue over here, don't worry, that's natural. It probably makes sense each time you come to class to try and vary which leg you do first for the leg sequence, just so you can even that out. But you'll also start to notice as you get more experience in class that it feels easier and easier, even if you're not alternating your starting side, which I usually don't, because I don't even think of it until I'm about halfway through this. All right, so now again, foot flat on the floor, in front of that bottom knee, lifting the bottom leg. And so for this side, in order to get my knee pointing up towards the ceiling, I have to engage the muscles in my hip joint and pull that knee backwards, all right? Otherwise, it likes to just cave forward. And we don't have to worry as much here because we're not in a standing position. We're not putting any weight on this leg, so we're not impacting the knee if it starts to cave forward. But that also makes this a perfect opportunity for us to practice that form. Because once we're standing, once we're doing squats or any other exercise that requires that knee form, we need to be able to keep those knees safely over the feet, pointing up towards the ceiling at all times, all right? So take this opportunity to start practicing that. Okay, back to the beach for our final leg exercise. After this, we will go into our sequence of opening up our backs and our hips. And those are 2 areas that obviously a lot of us are seated for much of the day, if you work an office job, or if you work in retail or food service, you may be standing for the most of the day, which is also not great for you or for your hips or your back. So the next sequence is really focused on giving us an opportunity to actively stretch those areas. What we mean by active stretch versus static stretch. An active stretch is we are stretching a muscle, but it is over the course of a movement. We are not just hitting a position and holding there. So we're going to start with scorpion twists right here. So we've planted our forearms on the ground, and I am swinging one leg behind and over at a time, trying to get that foot flat on the floor, trying to get that knee pointing up towards the ceiling, and getting a nice twist in my lower to mid back. The one non-negotiable piece of this particular exercise is that we cannot let our elbows come up off the ground, all right? So if you're like, oh, I can totally twist this far, I just have to let my elbow come up. Well, then you can't actually twist that far yet, okay? So be honest with yourself. Keep those elbows glued to the floor and just see how flexible you are, and it gives you something to work towards. All right, now we're standing up. We are holding an imaginary PVC pipe over our head, and we are doing some nice big torso rotations. Going to change directions every couple of rotations here so that we even ourselves out, because we are not doing this for a second timer interval. So you need to make sure that you are going in both directions. I'll generally do 2 rotations one way and then change and go the other way. And we are initiating movement from our hips, okay? Not our arms. Our arms are just staying right here, holding that pipe above our heads the whole time. They are not changing position relative to our head, okay? You are bending over at the hips, and that is generating the entire movement. All right, still holding that pipe. We're now doing squats. So our first opportunity for some actual squats. So let's take all of those notes that I was giving when we were doing the leg sequence and apply them now. So check in on your knees. Are they going straight over your feet the whole time, or are they trying to cave in towards one another? If it's the latter, narrow your stance a little bit and then start again and go, okay, cool, I can maintain this. And then keep doing the exercise in this stance until you have strengthened up enough that you're like, okay, let me go back to that wider stance and see if now I can maintain the positioning of my knees the whole time. And if you can't yet, go back to that narrower stance. Totally fine. All right, now we go into our Samson stretches. So this is a nice big opening of the hip flexors. And we're taking a big lunge position, straight leg in back, so we're not doing a double bent leg lunge here. And you want to keep your hips pointing forward the whole time. No matter where your leg is, you don't want your hips opening out towards the leg that's behind you. This is like a warrior 2 in yoga. Okay? You want to pretend that you have headlamps on your pelvic bones and that they are shining forward the whole time, okay? They are never moving around, rotating around. They are just pointed forward as you get in a position and really open up that hip flexor. Now, down into a nice wide squat. We get to have our hands on our knees. That's nice. Helps us to keep them safely over our feet. And we are twisting one shoulder at a time in towards the midline, okay? So we had the scorpion twists for twists in our lower and mid back, and now we're getting our upper back in on the party. But the only things moving are our shoulders, okay? So we're not coming up and down out of the squat. We're not letting our knees cave forward as we bring a shoulder forward. We are just twisting our shoulders one at a time, and everything else is remaining nice and stable and sturdy. All right, we have made it to cardio, which I think is going to be a good thing. It's a good thing that we're doing cardio today overall, because I know that I have a lot of anxiety and anger energy to get out, and I'm sure you do too. But right now, we're still in the warm-up, so we're still not going for 100% intensity, okay? This is just the last part of the boot-up cycle. So we're getting our cardiovascular system engaged. We're getting our heart rate coming a little faster, our breathing coming a little faster. We're moving oxygen more quickly through the body, and that oxygen helps the muscles to break down the energy sources needed for fueling this class, all right? So we're just doing bare minimum jumping jacks here. Now we do kick throughs. If you've never done a kick through before, it's a weird exercise. So I'm gonna have one hand flat on the floor, shoulder over that wrist. Opposite leg, foot flat on the floor, 90-degree angle, knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Then I'm gonna kick my remaining leg across my body, and then switch over to the other side. And I'm gonna go back and forth. You don't want to sink your butt down towards the floor or to let that standing knee cave forward, because then when we go to switch to the other side, we put some really unhealthy torque pressures on our knee, okay? So you want to, again, make sure that you are maintaining that nice, healthy form. All right, last but not least are our burpees. We are doing wave push-ups, okay? Not plank push-ups. Some of you may really want to do plank push-up there, but that is not the exercise. So, wave push-up and a nice big victory clap up at the top. And this is the last exercise in our warm-up. So once that horn goes off, you'll be able to get some water, take a little rest, and get set up for the rest of class. Huzzah. All right. Well, I'm already feeling a little bit better, a little bit of a loosening of the anxiety energy, and increase of just feeling a little bit powerful. All righty. Everybody grab some water, okay? There we go. Yeah. Sometimes we sit and stew in our big emotions, and it can be really paralyzing. And sometimes it takes something really big to help us burst through that. It's something like a cardio class, you know? I've definitely been sitting and stewing for the last few hours, and I am very happy to now just be out of the chair, moving around, feeling like I'm doing something really healthy for myself and that I'm getting myself ready for all of the work that we're gonna need to do. So let's make sure that we are hydrating all the way through class. Try to get through your entire water bottle, okay? All right. So we're going to do a bit of a mountain slope today. All tabatas. So we are going to start with our standard 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. We're going to have one exercise and just do 8 times through, okay? And that exercise is going to be double-legged mountain climbers. So we are starting out with a bang. And I want us to do, so there are 2 variations of double-legged mountain climbers that I will do. And today I think we're going to do the version where I jump my knees out to the outside of both elbows. So we're not going back and forth from side to side, okay? So we start in our plank, forward, back, all right? From the front, just so you can see where the knees are going, they're going to the outside of each of my elbows, okay? So that's gonna be our first exercise. We're gonna really need that strength and stability in our shoulders, okay? Making sure that we are not letting our shoulders go push back away from our wrists. We want to keep our shoulders directly over our wrists at all times, even as we are moving around, okay? So even as I get into the rhythm of the exercise, when I jump back to this plank, my shoulders are still directly over my wrists, okay? The other thing that you may be tempted to do is to try and add in a little bit of a break. We do that in a number of ways, but most frequently by adding little bounces in either when we jump our feet forward or when we jump them back. And I'll demonstrate that in a second, but I really want you to try to avoid doing that, okay? You want, every time your feet land, they need to be ready to immediately leave the ground and go again. So rather than bounce, 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 okay? We want hit, 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 okay? That requires so much strength and stability in your shoulders, and that is where a lot of us really struggle with any mountain climbers, because we don't have that strength built up, okay? So if that's something you notice, if that is something you've struggled with mountain climbers, then make a note of it and start thinking about how you can strengthen your shoulders so that eventually you start doing mountain climbers and go, wow, this feels a lot easier than I remember it ever being. Anyone who's been in class with me long enough knows that I had that revelation basically in the last year. And ironically, a lot of that new strength came from physical therapy for a shoulder injury. So physical therapy is something that I cannot tout highly enough, but I would rather that you didn't have to get a shoulder injury to be able to build out that strength. There are definitely easier ways to get there that don't involve chronic injury, which is no fun. All right, so here's our second to last. So I want you to check in on that form, okay? You've been going for now 7 intervals. How does this feel? Is it feeling easier? Are you feeling more fatigued? Are you struggling to keep the form? Okay, so always check in every time that you do an exercise, but particularly as you get farther along into the run. Check in with yourself and see how you're feeling and how your form is feeling. All right. Whew. Nicely done. Okay, let's have some water. Okay. I can already tell that I'm not necessarily managing my energy the way I usually do for class. And, you know, I know that I tell you to manage your energy so that you can get all the way through. But the fact of the matter is, too, sometimes we really need an outlet to just really get all of these feelings and all of this anger outside of ourselves. And there is a lot of value in that too. So if that's the kind of workout you're having today, I totally understand. All right. Now we're going to do 30 seconds of work to 10 seconds of rest. And we're going to have 2 exercises this time. So first exercise is going to be aerobics knees, as I've been calling them. So we take our feet between hip and shoulder width apart, a nice shallow squat, and then I'm going to stand up onto one leg, bring the other knee up, and then initiate rotation with my obliques, bring opposite elbow to that knee, and then just go back and forth and back and forth, okay? Second exercise is our side-to-side mat jumps. So we start on one side of the mat. So I'm starting on the left side of my mat, and I'm standing on my left foot. I've let my right foot cross behind me, but I'm not putting weight on it, all right? All the weight's on my front foot, and I'm going to use that power to jump as far as I can across the mat, maybe touch down a hand only for balance, and then back to the other side. And we just go back and forth, okay? All right, so everybody back to your mats. And again, 8 times through, so we're just going back and forth between these 2 exercises, okay? But that was not the start sound, so you can continue to relax a little bit until we hear that sound, our wonderful fanfare sound. It really does become a Pavlovian response eventually. You know, you walk up to anybody who's been taking this class long enough and go, knock, knock, knock. Chances are they will then go, do, 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 because we've been trained to hear those 2 sounds back to back. And it's good because we are using those auditory cues to get us started. Oh man. So now's a good time to talk about spatial awareness. So we are working out in our living rooms, bedrooms, maybe basements, but probably not in spaces that are designed for exercise. which means that you are surrounded by a lot of stuff with random, unpredictable shapes, and you need to be really aware of where you are in space and where everything else is in space. So when I'm doing side-to-side mat jumps, I need to pay attention to not jumping as far as I can, because I've got these bookcases over here, I've got this giant chair over here, and if I'm jumping as far as I can and then swinging my other leg behind me, I wham into my board games, I knock a bottle of wine off the counter, you know, all of that stuff. Spatial awareness is also incredibly important in the gym, because everything may be laid out a little more predictably, but there you're surrounded by other people who you shouldn't be knocking into, and you're surrounded by big heavy weights that you also don't want to knock into or drop on yourself. So this is an important skill no matter where you're working out, but you definitely want to make sure that you are building it up here at home when we do these classes, because otherwise suddenly a big television falls on you and there's broken glass and maybe a hospital trip, and well, our hospital systems are currently overwhelmed because of the uncontrolled pandemic. So in short, make sure that you are paying attention to everything that's around you and that you are not in danger of just sort of going off into la la land and then running into something. And so if that means that you have to modify your exercise, that's fine. Be aware of that. Be ready to do that. As I said, I don't do these jumps as big as I can because I need to make sure that I am not running into the furniture on either side of me. So I shorten my jumps a little bit, and that's okay, all right? Never be afraid to modify the exercise as you need. Woo! All right, my friends, going into your last 2 intervals. So last time for Aerobics Knees, I like that name. I've been thinking a lot about how step aerobics has really started to disappear from the fitness landscape, which is honestly a shame, because a good step class, a good step aerobics class is a killer workout. That is just all the high intensity without the intervals, you know? Plus, you've got a step, so you're including just a baseline level of leg exercise, even if you're not actually doing anything specific with your legs other than stepping up onto the step. And lots of fun, high intensity music. It's a really, really good time, and it really does seem like there are not a lot of people teaching step aerobics anymore, which I think is a shame. But who knows? Maybe someday, I'll start a step aerobics class on this channel. Who knows? Oh man! All right, time for some water, my friends. Okay. Yes, I hear the sound and immediately start making a pavlova. Exactly. Thank you, dear. Seems relevant given the activity in chat. Yes, that is a real mod. Yes, he will ban your ass. So if you're here to work out, great. If you're here to engage in interesting conversations with cool people, great. If you're here to creepily sexualize someone who is not here to be sexualized, banned. All right? Cool. Glad we had that talk. Love it. Love it. Let me tell you, being a non-cis male on the internet is a fucking trip, my friends. Holy crap. But this is why we have mods. All right. So, we have reached the summit of the mountain. We are going to do 45-second work intervals, 15-second rest intervals, and 3 exercises this time, okay? So, our first exercise, oh, that was just cruel. Why did I do that? I'm going to switch that up. Oh, our first exercise is going to be turtle planks. So if you've taken class with me long enough, you know that the first step in a turtle exercise is rolling up onto the shoulders and then up onto the feet, okay? You want to try and use that momentum to get you up on the feet. You can push with a hand or sort of roll over your knee like that, but it will stop the momentum of the exercise, which is going to make the rest of it harder. So do as best as you can. Roll up on the feet, plant the hands, jump back into that plank, jump the feet forward, and repeat. Okay? We're not doing a push-up. We're just jumping back into that plank. Second exercise is not going to be TikToks. We're going to do boat rocks. So we're going to balance up here on our tailbones in this pike position, and I want you to contract your abdominals so that it rounds out your lower back. And you have to keep them contracted actively so that you can roll onto your back and then back up to the balance position. And the reason that you need to keep them actively engaged is if my back is not rounded, then suddenly I end up like a bug on its back, okay? Third exercise. What is the third exercise? Skips. Hey, so skips, super easy. We're just skipping in place, okay? One knee comes up, opposite arm comes up, I hop, and then I switch sides. I'm not trying to move around on the mat, literally just staying in place, all right? So turtle planks and boat rocks and skips. So this is going to be our longest work interval, and because we have 3 exercises, we're going through them 3 times through, okay? So it will be for several reasons, longer than our other intervals. And it's a longer rest period too, which always throws me off because I'm like, where's the knocking? Oh, there it was. So now we're ready and we're going. So you see what I mean about the momentum. It really is an important part of the exercise. The other critical part, we're doing a lot of shoulder work today, all right? So as I'm jumping my feet backwards and forwards, I need to be stabilizing my shoulders because they are our most unstable joint, and if left to their own devices, they just want to move all over the place, which makes sense because they're designed to do that, but it also means that they can be very prone to injury. And trust me, shoulder injuries are not fun. Now we're doing boat rocks. And this is an exercise that it's really easy to do this for a long time without realizing that you're not actually engaging your core. So I really want you to check in on your core multiple times during this exercise. I did this for years and never really felt anything. And I was like, oh, cool. that must mean that my abdominals are just really strong. Well, I mean, that wasn't necessarily false, but also I was not actually using them for the exercise. And once I really started to, oh man, I noticed the effort very quickly. So if there are exercises that I have you do and you're like, I am really not feeling what she's telling me that I should be feeling, that probably means you should take another look at your form and at which muscle groups you are actually utilizing to do these exercises. Because 9 times out of 10, it doesn't mean that you're just already super strong and not going to get anything out of that exercise. It actually means that you're not using the right muscle groups. And, you know, it's honestly really exciting when you have that realization and go, oh wow, there is still so much for me to learn. There is still so much for me to pay attention to. You know, I haven't been a fitness professional for that long in the grand scheme of things, but I have been an active person my entire life. And the most important lesson that I've taught myself over the last couple of years is that no matter how long you've been exercising or doing some sort of fitness activity, you should always approach everything you do, even the things you've been doing for a while, like you have more to learn, because you do, okay? And it's one of those weird things with classes in particular, because our teachers aren't able to give us the, focused one-on-one attention that we can get in a personal training session. So we can frequently, if we're not really listening to what's being communicated or actively asking questions, we can frequently get away with doing things incorrectly for a long time. And let me tell you, I have a lot of examples of that in my own fitness practice. Since I moved out to Colorado, I started taking this class, or a version of this class, 4 years ago, I think. And I really made it through too many of those years not actually paying attention, as much attention to what I was doing as I should be, not really digging in and figuring out what the components of the form were and what the areas were that I was weaker on that might be impacting my ability to do certain exercises. We all have exercises that we love or hate more. Frequently for the exercises we don't like, that's giving us really important information, because that's telling us that one of the joints or muscle groups that is critical in that exercise is could be strengthened. For me, things like kick-throughs and mountain climbers were so hard, and I really disliked doing them for years. And it was mainly because I did not have that strength and that stability in my shoulders to do the exercise. And once I built that out, I stopped hating those exercises, So if there's an exercise you know, maybe one that we do today, or maybe just one that you can think of off the top of your head that you really don't like, then I want you to sit back and ask yourself, what are the joints, what are the muscle groups that are being used in that exercise, and is it possible that I need to work on my strength and stamina for those areas? Because most of the time, the answer is yes. And then once you've done that work, just to go back and do those exercises again and feel the difference, it feels like you've summited Mount Everest, you know? It feels like you have finally bagged your white whale and can move forward to new goals. Oh man. All right. One last set of skips, my friends. Knock, knock, knock. Getting ourselves ready. The thing I like about skips is that while I do put them in the cardio area, they are very easy to maintain. So I can use them for these longer intervals, and they're not as exhausting as, say, mountain climbers or flaming scarlets would be. So enjoy skipping around on your mat, imagining that you're moving through a meadow. You know, sing a little song to yourself, maybe pretend you're Julie Andrews and the Sound of Music. Whatever keeps you motivated. Whew. Okay. Took them long enough. For anyone watching this VOD at a later date on Twitter, one of my mods just informed me that Trump has been banned from Twitter. Well, friends, all right, we've summited the mountain, and now it's time to start our descent. So we have 2 more sets to do. How you doing on your water? Make sure that every time we take a break that you are having some of your water, okay? And, you know, you don't want to drink so quickly that you've got a lot of water sloshing around in your stomach, but you don't need to hold back. You don't need to take dainty little sips, all right? We go through so much water while we're working out, and we really get dehydrated. So always try to rehydrate yourself as well as possible. Okay. So now we're going back to 30 seconds of work to 10 seconds of rest, and going back to 2 exercises. The first one, you've seen the regular burpee. Now get ready for the turtle burpee, which is, there's something that is lodged in my mat over here that pokes, and it's really annoying. Okay, so turtle burpee. Roll onto our feet, plank, wave, push up, jump feet forward, jump up, repeat, okay? Just different enough from a regular burpee that you're gonna have to pay attention, alrighty? And then second, I know this will shock you in a cardio class, just a front plank. Shoulders directly over elbows. Nice straight line of the body otherwise. Fun times. Again, another exercise that I enjoy a hell of a lot more now that I have better strength in my shoulders. So we've got those two, and we're just going back and forth between them 8 times through. All right, knock, knock, knock. Get ready, get set, and whee. So there are a lot of steps to the turtle burpee, which means you're probably not going to get that many reps in, and that's fine, okay? We're not here to do massive numbers of reps. We're here to push ourselves for as much power and intensity as we can go for, okay? But 30 seconds is not a ton of time. So don't worry that you're not getting more than 3 or 4 done at a time, because that is totally normal. Now here, for our planks, first of all, I need you to keep breathing. It is so tempting to hold our breaths when we're doing held positions, because we don't want to knock ourselves out of position, but we are still working our muscles, and they still need that oxygen. So I want you to really, really work on continuing to breathe when you're doing held positions, and trying to slow your breathing, control it, okay? One of the reasons that we do this style of interval training is to practice that, okay? So we're going in the interval, and then during the rest, we want to see how quickly we can bring our breathing back down to normal rates, bring our heart rates back down, all right? So think about that as you're going along. Just keep that in mind as one of your goals for class. We are working on strengthening our cardiovascular system's flexibility to move between states of intense engagement and states of relatively normal operation, okay? Huzzah. Oh. Whew. All right, my friends, you are halfway through, so we're coming back around to our turtle burpees once again. So how are these feeling? I know that because we get so used to our regular burpees, there can definitely be a few instances of starting a movement and then getting kind of tripped up and going, where the heck am I in this sequence? Where am I supposed to be? Because I feel like something is not quite right. So if you're feeling that, don't worry, totally normal, just a good sign that you need to pull your brain back to the activity that you're doing and make sure that it's actively engaged. Make sure that it is really paying attention to what's happening and what signals it's supposed to be sending your body, okay? Woo! How's that breathing during that plank? Oh yeah, there we go. All right, last time for turtle burpees. So how are you doing on being able to roll right up onto your feet? I know that can take time to build to, and that's fine. Obviously, it's important for us to know the safe modifications that we can make while we are trying to build our strength, stamina, flexibility, what have you, to be able to do the aspirational version of the exercise. So knowing the safe modifications is a good thing, but you want to know what you're working towards, and you want to know why you're working towards it. So just keep that in mind. Every time you try an exercise where maybe you haven't been able to do as full a version as you wanted in our previous classes, test out that harder version each time. See if your body has strengthened or reached a point where it can do that version, or at least do a few intervals of it. You know, you don't have to, again, we're not trying to get to the finish line with any of this because, well, that's not the goal. Our goal is to lead lives that are as active and mobile as we want them to be for as long as we can. And that can be a very, very long time. But that also means that we don't have to get to what we consider to be the end point of any of this right away. And we actually want to really throw out that mindset as much as possible, because everything that we're doing here takes time and it takes practice. And there are going to be plenty of points where you feel like you are just not making any progress. And I promise you are, but a lot of times the improvements are happening on a microscopic level. They're happening at a hormonal level, at a cellular level. And that's just not stuff that we notice on the surface. So I want you to, as much as possible, always take a step back whenever you're berating yourself for not doing something as well as you think you should be able to. I want you to take that step back, and I want you to remind yourself that we're not in a rush. We're not. We want to be in this for the long haul. And that means that we don't need to get to perfection. That's not an attainable goal. We just want to improve as best we can, find the points where we're like, I feel comfortable with my level of performance and I just want to maintain here. Find the points where we're like, I need to re-engage with this process and maybe set some new goals for myself. But always approach your exercise from the perspective of, this is something I want to be doing my entire life, not this is something that I have to be perfect and amazing at within 2 weeks, okay? Because if you're doing the latter, it's not going to happen. Then you'll get demoralized, and that's not what either of us want. All right, my dears, one last set. 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. Speaking of lots of shoulder activity today, we're going to end almost as we began. We are going to end with mountain climbers, but regular single leg mountain climbers. So starting from our plank, shoulders directly over wrists, driving one knee at a time towards the chest, okay? That is what we're doing. It's our last exercise. And then we are going to do some combination of stretching and just recentering, which I think we all can use right now. But first, before we get there, we need to get through this. So, that sound did not mean go, but soon you will hear the knock, 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 which means get ready, get set, and here we go. So this is our final series of class, and that means that we do not have to hold back any more of that energy. We can and we should leave it all here on the mat, because we're done. After we finish this, we are done. So don't worry about needing to keep that extra pocket of energy saved up. We're here. You're at the finish line, or very nearly. You can see it, and we want to just take that last bit of energy and just come over the finish line with as much vigor as we can muster. And maybe you're here going, oh my God, I just want to make it over the finish line. And that's fine. If that is your success criteria for today, then you go, okay? That is a really awesome success criteria. And sometimes that's what we need to focus on. And look, it's been a hell of a day. Stressful doesn't even begin to cover it, okay? It has been a sobering day. It has been an anger-inducing day for all of the people who have been shouting these warnings at us for the last 4 years and have been ignored. This is very much the logical conclusion to, well, you know, the last like 40 years of Republican policy, but also the last 4 years of this presidency. And maybe you've been one of the people who's been out there just livid that no one has been paying attention to the very obvious signs. The people literally writing online that they wanted to do this. You know, the president who time and time again has riled up all of these white supremacist groups. Oh man, my friends, it is so frustrating to be minimized and condescended to by so many people over the last 4 years, and then have those same people turn around and be like, oh my gosh, who could have foreseen this? And to be like, well, everybody, including you if you've been paying attention. So you know what? As we finish out today, we are going to take the last of that energy and we are going to go as fast as we can. And maybe that is not very fast, but you know what? You're still moving, you're still pushing, you are still striving, taking care of yourself so you can take care of other people. And that is really awesome. Oh, my puzzle pieces do not enjoy mountain climbers, that's for sure. Wow, I'm gonna have to talk to my mentor and see where he got the mats for the BRC. All right, friends, let's stay down here on our mats. We're gonna do a little stretching, a little cooling down. Let's start just lying on your back, bringing both knees in towards your chest. Wrap your arms around them, hug them into your chest, and just rock back and forth. Make sure you're taking nice, deep breaths. All right. Bringing that heart rate back down. Bringing that breathing back down. Recentering yourself here on the mat. And now, we are going to let one leg extend completely along the floor. And take this other knee and pull it across our body so we have a nice twist in the spine, okay? Arms extended, long. You want your shoulders to be flat on the floor. One of the ways to make that happen, because the back shoulder is going to be trying to pull up off the floor. So I want you to look away from the knee towards that back hand. That will help keep both shoulders flat on the floor. And now let's just take 4 deep breaths here as we sink into this twist. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Look back up at the ceiling. Bring that knee back into your chest, other leg to meet it. Hug those knees in. Rock back and forth a little bit. And now we will do the other side. So one leg extended along the floor, other knee pulled across the body. You may feel some pops in your spine. Nice little at-home chiropractic adjustment. Look away from the knee to help keep both shoulders flat on the floor. And let's take those 4 deep breaths. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Look back up at the ceiling. Knees back into your chest. Rock back and forth a little bit. And a little happy baby pose. And then up to a seated position. And now we're going to do a little bit of a Pretzely stretch. Okay, so let me show you how to get into this. There's a lot of moving parts. So one leg, I'm going to fold the foot underneath me so that the heel is on the outside of the opposite hip. The other leg, I'm going to take this foot, put it on the outside of this knee. So the knee is pointing straight up into the ceiling. So we've got this pretzel shape going on. Then, for whatever knee's pointing up at the ceiling, I take the opposite arm, wrap it around, and hug that knee into my chest. And that's going to give me a nice stretch in the hip, okay? And then I'm going to twist towards the back, reaching that other arm back behind me, looking towards it, and just really feeling the stretch in the hip and the twist in the spine. Yeah, that's nice. Then I'm going to come back around. I'm going to pull this ankle up onto my knee. Keep the foot flexed. That's going to help protect the knee, because what we're going to do now is we're just going to fold forward. And we are going to, that's going to intensify the stretch in that same hip. And we're going to take 4 deep breaths here to just really sink into this stretch. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And roll up. Let that ankle come off the knee. Unfold the legs. And now we take the same position on the other side. So one leg folded under me with the heel on the outside of the opposite hip. The other leg, foot to the outside of that bottom knee, knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Hug that knee into your chest so you really feel the stretch in that hip. twisting away from the knee, that other arm going straight behind you to help intensify the twist. Really just take a second here, feel that hip stretch, feel that twist in the spine, feel the ways in which this feels easier or harder than the first side. Again, we're always looking for more information about ourselves. And then turning back to the front, bringing that ankle up on top of the knee, and we're taking, it's essentially a modified pigeon pose if you've done that in yoga. We're going to fold over, and we're going to take those 4 deep breaths to really sink into the hip stretch. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Roll on up and unfold and pat yourself on the back. All right, my friends. Whew. Wow. All right. Well, that was a good class. That was definitely what I needed for today. And I hope it was what you needed as well. Or that if you're coming to this later because you missed the live cast or just didn't feel up to joining the live cast today, which I totally understand. This class will always be there for you. You know, the VODs go up on YouTube, so you'll always be able to take this later. But I really appreciate your gathering with me today. I definitely needed an outlet to express my anger and to get ready for the fights that we have ahead. There are going to be a lot of them, my friends, but if we can keep meeting here, taking care of ourselves, taking care of each other, then I feel so much more hopeful for our ability to make it through whatever we have to make it through. So, yeah, holy crow. I need some more water. Let's drink water. Remember yesterday when I was all cocky and like, ooh, I'm so hydrated. I didn't do a good job on that today. All right. Well, my friends, yeah, try not to doom scroll today. I know I still have to do the spiel, but just, it's so tempting. It's so easy. And I do it too. And I have to really work hard to remind myself that it's not helpful and that frequently it is far more useful to wait until there is a greater preponderance of information rather than just panic reading every little possible crumb when people don't know what's going on or what's happened or what the outcome is. So just hopefully this got you away from social media for a bit, but I want you to take a shower tonight. I want you to make sure to take some time, take a shower, make a good meal for yourself, make sure that you pour yourself some more water, and really, really do your best to breathe and center. Doesn't mean you can't check the news, but try and notice when you're being pulled into those anxiety spirals, okay? That's the first step, is just noticing it. We talk about that in class all the time. The first step is not never having bad form. The first step is noticing more quickly when your form is suffering and then doing your best to pull it back together. And the same is absolutely true for so many other places in life. Okay? We're not aiming for never having anxiety reactions or never ending up doom scrolling. Okay? That's just not feasible. But if we can teach ourselves how to notice more quickly when we're doing that and go, this isn't serving me particularly well, this isn't particularly healthy for me, and doing our best to pull away, take a step back, have something that we can turn our attention to instead. That's what is valuable to work on. All right? We're never going to live a life without mistakes. It's how we learn from and grow from those mistakes and make amends when we need to. So, yeah, try not to doom scroll tonight. I know how tempting it is. Am I going to take my own advice? Fingers crossed. But either way, I'm really glad that you were here with me tonight. I'm glad I was here with you tonight. I definitely needed this. We've got 2 more classes this week. We've got on Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, we have Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. And then on Saturday at 9 a.m. is the weekend kickoff, which is our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. So definitely join for one or both of those. Yes, I will try to take my own advice, I promise. See, this is, yep. Hoisted by my own petard. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those handles will be in my end cards, but they're all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you're not able to make the live cast. Usually I would plug my coffee account here, but tonight I'm going to tell you that if you have the money to spare, find whatever voting rights organization is local to your area and donate to them, okay? Because it is very clear that true change has to start in our communities, okay? None of this trickle-down theory of change. We have to be making change happen here at the local level, and seeing what has happened in Georgia in these last couple of elections is incredibly inspiring. So find a voting rights organization in your area, give them some money, give them whatever you would have donated to me, send it their way. And if you want to keep helping grow this community, because it is a really wonderful community, and you know, it is definitely an important resource for me as it is for others, please do follow this channel. Tell your friends, coworkers, loved ones, anyone looking for awesome bodyweight exercise classes. I stream 4 days a week. Accessibility is incredibly important to me, as is activism. I'm not shy about either, and I want to make the world a better place, starting with this little corner of the internet, and I would love it if you came along on that journey with me. So thank you all for joining me tonight on this. What a hell of a day. What a hell of a day. If you live in Georgia, thank you for all of your efforts. If you live in DC or in any of the state capitals, I know that there's been stuff going down even in the Denver area here in Colorado. So if you live in any capital cities, please stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Reach out to your communities if you need help, if you need a place to stay. Yeah, let's take care of ourselves, take care of each other, so that we can get out there and change the world for the better. And I'm gonna go shower. I'm gonna go have some food, And I will see you all back here on Friday. Mwah. Have a great day.